Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Libra energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. We've all got free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And the top row can just represent kind of what we'd maybe like to do in our life if we had more hope and faith and belief in ourselves. And the bottom row can represent how we are living our life and can represent our comfort zone. So there's a lot of different stories in here. So, uh, it all kind of gets us to the main point. But um, again, we can all live our life a certain way, which can represent the bottom row. It's kind of our comfort zone. We'll all repeat certain patterns because we view life a certain way until we don't view life a certain way. And when we become enlightened to the truth, we move forward in life a little differently than we did before. And sometimes we're in friendships and relationships with people, and we or they, someone, kind of starts to look at life a little differently. In high vibe, it's having hope and faith and belief in themselves, loving themselves, freeing themselves from things that used to manipulate them, and they're ready to move forward in life differently. And when people are ready to do that, some other people in their life aren't ready to do that. And just like we have our dualistic nature, there's these different people in the world and probably in our life. We have people that probably love and encourage us to love and believe in ourselves. But then we have people in our life who encourage us kind of keep doing life the way we've been doing it, or to indulge our more fearful nature, codependent nature, immature nature, prideful, defensive, whatever nature, right? Because that's how they live their life. And then we'll kind of hang out with them. So, but first you even have to be enlightened to the truth that, we do battle and we do have free will, and it involves making choices in our life. So the reason for the bottom rose reading is manifestation, which is Gemini and Virgo energy. The bottom row can just represent our more worldly nature. In our more worldly nature, we're kind of really manipulated by the world, and there's a lot of things in the world that we want to manifest. But until we, in the wealthy man and high vibe, that would be about kind of freeing ourselves from letting the world manipulate us so much. And high vibe energy is about being more independent and more balanced, to kind of see through how our own worldly nature, the world can manipulate us, and it can kind of keep us stuck in an illusion, and we're really not growing and healing and maturing ourselves. And I view the King of Pentacles, the wealthy man, as Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is our more worldly nature and the world. We are meant to master our more worldly nature, not let our mind run our life, not let our emotions run our life, our fear, our insecurity, other people, our pride, our ego. It's to know our worth and value, and high vibe energy is about being independent and actually being who we present ourselves as being in the world. But sometimes, we're kind of presenting ourselves in a way that maybe we still have some inner work to do and we haven't done it. And it's part of life. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the snake, the Sith card, which is kind of like the death card, the lilies, which is Capricorn energy, and the ring, which is Taurus energy. So high vibe Libra, Capricorn, Taurus is about putting in the work and effort to free ourselves from the illusion that keeps us in non-life-giving energy. And in a normal tarot deck, this card, of course, reminds me of the death card, would be Scorpio, which is emotional water sign energy. This card says Libra. This one says Scorpio. There's a lot of things about the world, Scorpio, emotional water sign energy. There's a lot of things in the world that we want to manifest. But if we're not careful, those things will emotionally manipulate us and keep us from growing and maturing ourselves to our full potential. We can get so caught up in the Capricorn Taurus philosophy of life, that it's about the ego and the image or me and the status and the image and indulging in things and, whatever it is that people think is like living the dream, right? But if we're not more emotionally balanced within ourselves, we do have our worldly nature, but we also have our kind of like up here, we have two cards that depict children. We also have our more hopeful, believing inner child nature. And we have the main female up here, and that's the feminine figures in tarot can talk about how we think and feel. In tarot, we deal with the four elements: the heart, the mind, the 3D world, the passionate, creative nature. We're emotionally complex human beings. That's what Scorpio energy talks about. But some people think, no, 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 that's not the most important thing, which is kind of disregarding and rejecting their own more kind of like loving themselves, loving and believing in themselves that they deserve love, and that we are this emotionally complex human being. We can get so caught up in our defensive nature, like I don't want to do love, I get hurt doing love. And that can be a more shadowy Scorpio way of being. I'm just going to keep my more hopeful, believing, loving nature buried beneath the surface. And then in the kind of Scorpio and Libra card, I think that's just unfair. Plus, I am an emotionally complex human being, and, you know, we can have contradictory thoughts towards the same person. I hate them. I love them. I don't ever want to talk to them. I hope they call me tomorrow. We're confusing. And some people maybe just decided, that's it, I'm done. I'm not doing it. It's too confusing. And they just kind of try to shove that all underneath the surface. Nope, that's confusing. That kind of tips me out of balance, makes me go back and forth. Libra is represented by the scales of justice. I think the best way is to just keep moving forward in Capricorn Taurus energy and in my Gemini energy, which Gemini is about our free will nature. I'm going to choose in my free will to align with my more worldly nature and keep my more hopeful, believing, loving, creative, inspired nature kind of buried under the surface. I think that's just and fair, and I think I can manifest what I want into reality. They can, to a degree, they can manifest a lot of stability and security, image and status, but if they're not operating from love, and that would be like the death energy, it's kind of hard to manifest what other people are manifesting if those people are manifesting from truth and love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And some people think, no, 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 I don't have to do that. I just need to get in a relationship. Taurus can talk about workplaces, friendships, and relationships. I can just go work with someone. Capricorn's about putting in work and effort. I'll just go work with someone who kind of has hope and faith and belief in love. That way it looks like I'm someone who has hope and faith and belief in love. And it makes it look like I'm not maybe more deceptive, manipulative, superficial, shallow, more about myself. And they can do that. And for some people, that is the pattern that they keep repeating over and over and over again. You either are illuminated to the truth, and in high vibe Capricorn, you free yourself from things that manipulate you. So you really are who you present yourself as being. Some high vibe people have already been in relationships with some people who present themselves, male or female. The masculine cards can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world, because when we go out in the world and we present ourselves, it's considered masculine energy. And the feminine figures talk about how we really think and feel. And people can wear really good false masks. People can look very stable, very just, very fair, very emotionally mature, grounded, whatever. And then you get in a relationship with them and you find out that The snake card can talk about that people are being deceptive and manipulative, which of course reminds me of Aquarius energy. Emotionally, in Scorpio, I'm kind of more about myself or these things of the world. And I think it's just and fair emotionally to maybe live more from my mind than my heart. But shadowy energy is about trying to create an illusion. So this card is like the magician card, which is Gemini and Virgo energy. I'll just create an illusion that my truth is their truth. And then those people will work together with me in a relationship. And then I look like I'm a more emotionally stable, just, fair, balanced person than I really am. The problem is that the people who really have learned lessons in life have tempered their more egoic nature, saw that if they emotionally kept investing, the death energy is kind of like not growing and maturing yourself, that if I don't grow and mature myself, for one, I'm creating an illusion in the world, and I don't like going out in the world and feel like I'm presenting myself one way in the world, and that's not really who I am. And I can probably see other people who are more hopeful and believing and really seem to be who they say they are. High vibe people are motivated and inspired to grow and mature themselves. So they do put in this work and effort. I need to look through my own. Taurus can represent our way of thinking and our philosophy of life. I need to work through that. That is confusing. I have this way of living life. Maybe I didn't even realize, oh, I have to keep growing and maturing myself. I mean, when we're young, right? We're kind of forced by society to do certain things that even at that time we didn't want to go do, maybe. Oh, it's time you need to go out there and get a job. It's like, can I just stay here and not get a job? No, you need to go get a job. It's like, okay. And then it's like, you need to learn to be more independent. Really? So some people have kind of been forced all their life to do some of the things that other people were motivated and inspired to do. Yep, I want to go get a job. I want to feel more self sufficient. Yep, I want to move out of home. I want to be more independent. And other people could have reluctantly done all those things. Like if they could have stayed at home and had people not require them to grow and heal and mature themselves, that would have been great. But anyway, that's not the way the world works. So, there was phases of our life when we were younger that we kind of all were forced to kind of learn to be a little bit more independent. But some people's idea was, I might have to do that since this card says Scorpio, but it reminds me of Aquarius. I might have to do that, to have a certain status and image in the world. Um, to kind of keep up with my peer group. But boy, when I get older and I get out and I do have my own place and I do have my own job and I may be in a relationship, boy, I'm done with that. You know, they can just be people who don't like change, because the Scorpio death card can talk about death and transformation. And some people with the death card, they're like, I don't like that. I have my way of looking at life. I don't like change. I don't like to step out of my comfort zone. I might have my things I like to invest my time, energy, and effort into. That's what I like to focus on. And if part of that involves me not really connecting in with my more emotionally intuitive, hopeful, believing, loving nature, I'm okay with that. But again, in order to get in relationships with other people, they kind of have to create the illusion that they are more motivated and inspired by that. And the children can kind of represent having that more hopeful, believing spirit, and some people don't have that. With like the death card and the manifestation, I don't believe maybe that anything can change. Some people appear in the poverty card. That can be a Five of Pentacles, a shadowy kind of Taurus energy that anyone can harness, like just having a lack mentality. Shadowy energy can just be codependent. I have mental conflict about change. I have mental conflict of feeling more balance within myself, like being loving and encouraging to myself, or offering love and encouragement to the past and issues in my past that I could have felt were kind of confusing or manipulative. And, to work through those things. With this card being like Gemini and Virgo, we have all three of the earth signs here: Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And that means you have to put in work and effort to work through these things in life that are emotionally confusing. And we could have thought a dream was going to come into reality with some people, and some people who we did view as just and fair, and that we could have been codependent on for our stability and security, but we also could have viewed them as very, like, having a lot of these things of the world in Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn energy within themselves, that they seem very stable, very grounded. We could have looked up to and admired them, and they could have looked like pillars of society, and they could have looked very victorious and successful. But then, as people could have moved forward with people in relationships like that, they could have realized that maybe those people really weren't who they said they were. Could they have looked very victorious and successful in a lot of ways in life? Yeah, but maybe there was some things that, other people didn't kind of realize, because if you're not living in that household with those people, the people who are living in a household with them could find some things kind of confusing. If you're in relationships with people who present themselves as these just and fair, stable, grounded pillar of society, whatever type people, but then, with the death card and Libra, maybe they're not that just and fair. Maybe they're kind of don't really walk the talk, but they create an illusion that that's what they do. And in a lot of ways they could, but, it's just emotionally confusing for us to be in relationships with people and grow up in families that maybe the biggest important thing is this illusion of how we present ourselves in the world. And that seems to be the driving factor. And it's like, really, is that the most important thing? Is how we look and how people view us? Because, that's just shadowy energy. That the most important thing is what we look like in the world and how people view us. And that's the most important thing about you. And don't really be your authentic self. And you need to look like this and act like this and basically conform to the world. So we have this certain status and image. And some people could feel with these two cards reminding me of Scorpio. In shadow, it can be where it just can seem kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial. And it is more about the illusion. So sometimes people grow up or get in relationships with people where everybody's kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial, but everybody can kind of enjoy each other's company to a degree, and it can look very victorious and successful. And then, Taurus in the ring card kind of talks about, the families we grow up in and the communities we grow up in and the state and the country that we grow up in, and, the overarching dominant way of living life and viewing life. And sometimes with this card, kind of, because it reminds me of a Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, we all at one time had our dreams, but then, as we're moving forward in life and up here again with the Five of Pentacles, we all had that more hopeful believing spirit, right? And so in the Five of Pentacles, we're wanting other people to move forward with us in like a just and fair and loving and balanced way. And we don't want it to be more about what I look like and how I perform, and if I do this or I do that. We want to be authentically loved, and we'd like to be encouraged to love and believe in ourselves. And sometimes when some people had some people in their life that maybe never really gave them that, they could definitely have kind of a lack mentality. Could have been confusing. They could have kind of detached from their own truth and believing more in themselves and listening to their own intuition to realize my truth is different than their truth. But that can be hard to figure out, maybe when you're young. And so, somewhere along the way, and because we could have been more codependent, needless, we are in the families that we grow up in when we're children. If those people want us to conform more to how they live their life, well, then kind of slowly over time, we kind of put an end to our own dreams, and we could have put an end to listening to our more hopeful, believing, creative, inspired, intuitive nature. And we could have even been in relationships or grew up with people where some people didn't like us harnessing our earth sign energy, being more aligned with hope and faith and belief and love. Nope, you got to grow up. You got to make your life about this. This is the most important thing. This is what we make our life about. And so, somewhere along the way, some people detach from being even connected in with themselves and their truth. And they have been kind of manipulated by people in their life in the world, caught up in the illusion of the world. This is the most important thing. This is what makes me valuable. This is what makes me have worth and value. This is the most important thing I have to offer other people. Which really, all those things, everybody can put work and effort into having status, image, power, um, learning some lessons in life. But the high vibe people know that the most important thing they have to offer is love. They could have some of the same status, image, power, looks, attractiveness, whatever, as some of the more worldly, shadowy people. It's just that the high vibe people didn't put an end to their more hopeful, believing nature. They could have grown up and been around people that made their life more about these things of the world. And they could have felt left out in the cold, and they could have felt a little rejected and felt a little manipulated and found it confusing. But they held on to their dreams and their truth. High vibe Virgo and Gemini is about what your truth is. And it's like, well, their truth is different than my truth. And that might be what they value and what they make important and how they define themselves and what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. But I do have hope and faith and belief. And the poverty card, being like the Five of Pentacles, is that I can accept the truth that not everybody views life the way I do, right? And everybody's got their different things that they make important and what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. But high vibe energy is being independent and living your more authentic life. You can live your life, and I'm going to live my life. Your truth and how you want to move forward is different than my truth and how I want to move forward. And with a lot of people in our life, that's okay. They're like, hey, you go do you. I'm going to go do me. But some people do have people in their life that really don't like it when other people Don't live life the way they live it. Because in their Libra, King of Swords energy of what they think is just and fair, this is the just and fair way to live your life. And you should make your life about these things. I make my life about these things. And I'm not more independent. And I'm not more hopeful and believing. And I don't listen to my intuition. I make my life more about these things of the world. And I might have given up on my dreams. So you should give up on your dreams. And I've decided it's confusing to do more deep, meaningful relationships. So I got out of the ones that were more deep, meaningful to be practical and grounded because Libra energy is air sign energy. So sometimes people are more tipped in favor of being more practical and grounded. And being more hopeful and believing in love, that can be scary. That can be out of people's comfort zone. And again, we all like to stay in our comfort zone. So if some people know some other people who didn't move forward being more hopeful and believing in themselves and in love and kind of growing and healing and maturing themselves and seeing the truth of things, they might have some people in their life that they could feel like if they were to go live their authentic life, that some of those people in their life, well, then we're not going to have anything to do with you. You know, you view life differently than we do. You're not living your life like this. And that can be manipulative and deceptive. Like, I could know that you have love for me, whether I'm your friend or I'm your family member or a romantic interest. This is how I want to live my life. This is how you should live your life. If you want to step out of my comfort zone and live your life differently, well, then I don't want to work with you or be in a relationship with you anymore. Which sometimes people have to do that in romantic interest, but you wouldn't think you'd have to do that in a friend group or a family dynamic. You know, you think they would be loving and encouraging and supportive that, well, do you do everything I do? No. Well, then why do you think I should do what you do? You know, I let you be your own person and get and do whatever you want to go do. Why am I not allowed to do that? Because some people, shadowy energy can be just more manipulative and controlling. And shadowy Libra, shadowy Taurus, this is what I think is just and fair. Um, Part of the reason could be is if people were to move forward and go kind of like love and believe in themselves, it would cause the other people kind of some mental conflict about why do I do what I do? Why do I stay in the friendships and relationships I'm in? Why do I stay in the job I'm in? Why do I let those things manipulate me? And that's like kind of what percolates and bubbles up in their head, but they don't even want to deal with the truth of it. They just think, no, I'm going to try to stop that person from loving and believing in themselves and make them do it this way because I think that's just and fair and right. But they don't maybe even consciously realize that part of it is because, you know, shadowy energy can be a little jealous and petty and manipulative. If you go live the life of your dreams, then it's going to cause me some mental conflict about why didn't I love and believe in myself and become more independent and free myself from things that manipulate me. But instead of wanting to deal with the truth of that, when they see people being more independent and healing and growing and maturing themselves, because they have mental conflict about detaching from those things that manipulate them, friends or family members, or whatever it is, their own defensive nature, their own ego nature, their own how they indulge in their more immature nature. They don't want to see the truth within themselves. So then it's just trying to stop other people from doing it. So then they won't have the mental conflict. And their mental conflict can come to an end trying to manipulate and stop other people from continuing to love and believe in themselves. And sometimes it can just be people being deceptive or cold, you know, trying to make people feel rejected and feel left out in the cold just because they can tell you're different. I don't think you're kind of manipulated by some of the things that I'm manipulated by. You seem to maybe have a more hopeful, believing spirit, or you seem to just kind of be more independent. I don't like that, but I don't like to think about why it bothers me, because why am I not more independent? And they just don't want to go through the whole thing of figuring out why it even bothers them. Instead, it could just be, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I want you to feel left out in the cold. I want to keep hanging out with people who live life the way I live it. And then hopefully you'll quit believing in yourself. And then we can all live peacefully ever after, because now we're all in like shadowy energy. So, at the big picture, shadowy energy is represented by the devil, things that try to manipulate us and doesn't want to give birth to anything new and wants us to indulge in our more immature, prideful, self indulgent, whatever way of being, right? High vibe energy, represented by God, wants us to love and believe in ourselves, free ourselves from those things, and live our authentic life, getting the justice we deserve, feeling at peace within ourselves, being in relationships that are just and fair, and love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. You're supposed to learn with kind of like the main female and the wealthy man. You are supposed to learn to be your own best mother, father, coach voice within yourself. Quit being maybe in more codependent relationships, which we've all, I think, been in more codependent relationships because we were a child and we did look to other people to provide stability and security and love us and make us feel better, and we hadn't really learned to take over that job within ourselves. And when we're in kind of more codependent energy and we might have fear of loving and believing in ourselves and listening more to our intuition, we can be more manipulated by our fear and our insecurity and our codependent nature. And there's other people in the world that are in that energy that are happy you are too, and they want to be in a relationship with you and have you work with them and be their friend and marry them. But then they might want you to keep staying in that energy. And sometimes we can get in any friendship or relationship we've been in all of our life, ever since we've been young. We can get in friendships and relationships with people, but generally, hopefully, when we were younger, hopefully we were offering love and encouragement to each other to keep moving forward, shedding an old way of being, putting in work and effort to go to that next phase of life. Let's be like a ninth grader now and quit being like a sixth grader. And let's be a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 21 and a 25. And let's detach from those old ways of being. But again, then we can get to a certain stage in life where it could really, where some people are like, well, I thought, of course, we were going to do that when we were younger. But then when we get to the certain stage of life, like, this is it. There is nothing more. Now we got a job, we got in a friendship, we got in a relationship, or we're married. Now this is supposed to be eternal bliss. We don't have to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves anymore. Well, sometimes we get in relationships with people who agree with us. Let's not heal or grow or mature anymore. This was the end goal. Let's keep doing this forever. Other people, part of the process of life is that you keep growing and healing and maturing yourself. So some people can get in those situations, but then they're still, even though they didn't know it, there's more. I didn't even know there was more. But there's more, and I want to manifest more things. Let's keep looking to the future and listen to our intuition and believe in ourselves, and let's keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves. And that's when some people are like, well, was I willing to be in the friendship or the relationship with you for X period of time where we kind of really were more focused on these things of the world that we wanted to manifest? Yeah. But now, you want to do something else over and above that. I never even imagined doing something else over and above that. This was supposed to be it. And this was supposed to be, it's kind of like people, we can invest time and energy to um, getting to know each other, getting married, having children, but then, we might not really know what comes after that, right? And some people, again, can feel like I kind of feel left out in the cold because I kind of feel like I learned everything I needed to learn there. I'm inspired to move forward. I'm offering, putting in work and effort in high vibe Capricorn, Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, being just and fair, trying to encourage other people to work through their mental confusion and their emotions about loving and believing in themselves to kind of step out of their comfort zone again, to face our fears about going out of our comfort zone a little bit, just like we kind of did at those other stages of life, facing our fears, not letting our fear and our ego or what everybody else is doing manipulate us. And some people are like, no, you can go. I don't want to do that. I want to keep doing this. And some of those people could think that I don't think you'll really love and believe in yourself. You might want to go do that, but maybe because I know you have love for me, or I know you really wanted this to work, you might leave, but I think you'll come back. Well, and that's a risk people take in relationships, right? But, and there could be some people telling some people that in a relationship right now. It's just that some people already went through that and they're kind of moving forward in life differently. They did detach from something. The Five of Pentacles detaches from the Four of Pentacles. There was a way of living life and viewing life and people in my life, or a job, friendship, whatever that I had. And I really wanted that to move forward with me. But those people were unwilling to move forward. They want to stay in that Four of Pentacles energy. That is still how they view life, live life, enjoy life. And I kind of realized that wasn't my truth anymore. So probably by the time someone does tell someone, because generally you kind of have to work through all this, and they think about, if I were to leave this, I really kind of got to love and believe in myself. um, but I could feel like maybe people gave the impression that they were more, again, healed or grown and matured than they really are. Maybe they are a little more, they kind of gave the impression they weren't more about themselves or the ego or the image, that, we put in work and effort and we'll have adequate stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life. And then you find out that they're much more about the world, and the ego and the image is more of the driving factor. And you start to realize that might even be the driving factor of why they're even in the relationship, or want to be in a relationship, or stay in a relationship. Or for some, they have a lot of mental conflict and they just get in relationships just to feel more balanced. But then as time goes by in the relationship, since they never deal with those things that cause them whatever mental conflict, it can creep back up again, and they could do some things that aren't conducive to a relationship moving forward in a more hopeful, believing, stable, grounded way. And because of that, some other relationships end on them, and then they go look for another relationship to get in to make them feel more stable and balanced and help ease some of their mental conflict or their lack mentality. And then they do the whole thing over again with someone else. But they never deal with those issues that manipulate them, whether it's their fear, their insecurity, their ego, their lack mentality, abandonment issues, um, competitive issues. And on the other extreme, it's people who, you know, sometimes when people have those kind of shadowy ways of being, to kind of cover it, they can kind of go to another extreme where it can seem to be very kind of egotistical, self-centered, and has to be all about them. And that's an issue of trying to control people, maybe trying to intimidate people. Again, use whatever it is they think they bring to the table of the relationship to try to manipulate and control people or intimidate people. But some high vibe people were realizing it might have, in the Taurus energy, it might have a lot of these things of the world that I thought, and I do maybe want. But if it has to be where it keeps like repeating this old pattern, and we're never going to put in work and effort to keep kind of growing and healing and maturing ourselves, it is more about the illusion and the ego and the image and how it looks just and fair. And I could feel manipulated, oppressed, confined, limited, imprisoned. Yeah, those are kind of all the things that the devil tries to do and make us feel. And the devil card, the opposite of the wealthy man, which I've used Capricorn, looks just like the lover's card, except that people have like chains and shackles on them. And the devil is the primary big energy versus the lover's card has the angel. You know, is the reason why we stay in things more because of these worldly things, or the fear, or the insecurity, and love, but maybe kind of a toxic, kind of codependent love, versus really being motivated and inspired by truth and love? So, some people who did already get out of these, and people who are thinking of getting out of it, they don't, if they get out of it, they don't want to repeat the same pattern with someone else. And I need to figure out what it is about it. I mean, I don't want to get out of it just because of something within me that I didn't deal with. So I need to work through my own mental confusion, and I need to work through my own philosophy of life and what my truth is and what I think is just and fair, and what I think it means, what I view in Capricorn as like victorious and successful. Is it just these things? True stability and abundance and happiness comes from feeling balanced within yourself and free of things more that manipulate you. And other people are like, that is less important. Just forget about that. Just operate from your pride and ego and make your life about these things. It's like, you might be able to bury those things under the surface, but I am someone who's emotionally connected in with myself, and I don't like creating an illusion in the world. So they had to work through how they harness these energies in a shadowy way and realize how that kept them in relationship with certain people who also might harness that energy to some degree of their own in shadowy. And that knowing that when they detach from harnessing it in a more shadowy way, that they're willing to let go of the people in their life who do, and willing to go through a period of feeling left out in the cold in order to look to the future and believe in themselves and stand up, take action. That's a masculine card, so that can be about taking action. They're standing up for their truth and what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into, and their truth. I need to equally stand up for my truth and what I believe in. And if it's not this, it's not this. So I need to work through these two cards. The bees, which is Virgo energy, which is in here, and the tree, which is also Virgo energy. So Virgo energy just can talk about what our long-term goals are based on what our truth is. Is it more about the ego and the image and being in relationships to be in a relationship, or the fear, or the insecurity, or the stability, or the security? Or is it enlightened to the truth that it's supposed to be about love? What is the foundation that we're trying to grow this from? And the bees can talk about kind of hive mentality. And again, we can all get manipulated by the world, and we all want friendship groups and relationships and all that stuff. But there are some people that do try to manipulate people to get them into like the hive mentality, to for you to turn your back on listening to your intuition and living your more authentic life because you're afraid of not having these things, which is probably the same thing that keeps them doing what they do. But you could have seen the truth that it was more of a hive mentality, group think, conformity. Nobody's allowed to be their own individual, and respecting each other as their own individuals with their own thoughts and feelings and unique talent, skills, and interests. It's like, who is it who decided we all got to think like this or act like this or dress like this? Or, there's always kind of going to be a queen bee. And I really dislike it when I watch other readings, because it always can end up seeming like the feminines are the awful people. But everybody has their emotional nature. So whether it's male or female, and we can know different people in different groups where it's kind of a male or a female, kind of behind the scenes, in shadow, it just means someone emotionally, which is represented by the feminine figures, operating more from their ego, trying to control and manipulate things. And you probably saw the truth of it. And you also could know some people in your life who have people in their life that kind of manipulate and control them. And just the world controls them, their ego controls them. It can represent a lot of different things. And it's like, that's not my truth. And I can't do the group think, and some people are more about conforming to the world than other people. And though I would have liked to have moved forward with some of those people, with everyone, I can wish that I could get along with them in a just and fair and loving and authentic and encouraging way. But I can be that way, but the other people, that has to really be their truth. And some people don't even realize that they have people in their life that don't, well, for one, their own shadow nature doesn't have their best interests. So if they're letting their fear and their insecurity and their pride and ego run their life, that aspect within them that they think makes them feel safe and secure really doesn't have their best interests at heart. And then other people in their life who don't want people to heal and grow and mature themselves and listen to their intuition really don't have their best interests either. They want them to do what they do and live life the way they do so it doesn't cause them any mental conflict. And some people are still really codependent on those people, no matter how old they are, and if male or female or whatever, not willing to maybe stand up for themselves and what they really believe in. I wish everybody peace, love, and joy. You go live your life. You do what you do, because everyone will just face the consequences of their own decisions. But I know my truth, and I am my own individual, and out of love for myself and my own inner child of hope and faith and belief, I'm going to listen to my intuition. Instead of people in my life who try to maybe confuse me about the truth and manipulate me and maybe try to instill fear and insecurity and not trust myself, not believe in myself, don't trust other people, don't believe in love. They're just trying to manipulate you, blah, blah, blah. The high vibe people saw the truth of it, and out of love for themselves, they became independent of those people. And they took the lesson they were meant to learn from that life experience to see how they got caught up more in these things of the world, and how maybe they didn't listen more to their intuition. Maybe they didn't have belief that in themselves, or to believe they could manifest their dreams into reality, or fearful of not having these things of the world that they wanted and being more independent. And they got themselves in some situations, jobs, friendships, and relationships that eventually they realized, I need to move on from this. I'll offer them truth and love to come with me, but they have to be in that energy versus continuing to move forward in this more shadowy type energy. So, high vibe people are listening more. It's unknown territory. They're moving forward in a into a place and a way of living life that they haven't been there before. And along with some other people in their life. We can always have people in our life that are doing this work with us. And we're all, who knows what the hell tomorrow brings, but I know I know how I acted last year or 2 years ago, or how I used to feel and how I used to think and view myself and view the world. I don't want to go back to those old ways of viewing life, because I've learned so many lessons from then, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. And then with this fortune teller card here, um, mostly wearing black but with white, you know, again, it kind of makes me think of maintaining balance and listening to our intuition, but we can't get rid of our shadow nature. So, our shadow nature and other shadowy people in the world are always going to try to stop us from taking action, loving and believing in ourselves. So, we need to be aware of that. We need to stand up for ourselves and our truth. And maybe before, some people didn't stand up for their more loving, intuitive nature. And this whole experience helped them grow and mature themselves in a way that I do feel confident within myself, whether I'm male or female, to stand up for myself and what I believe in, and not let my more loving nature, nurturing nature, or want to provide or whatever, to be manipulated by other people who really don't have my best intention at heart. And I think as you do that, this is saying that you will free yourself from these things that used to manipulate you and have new beginnings and look very stable and abundant and grounded, because that is the action that you're taking. Some other people in the world are taking action more out of pride and ego and fear and lust and greed and all those kind of things, trying to create an illusion that that's the type of person they are. But eventually it all kind of gets kind of revealed, who really kind of more walks the talk and who doesn't, who is taking action more out of pride or ego or codependency, who does try to manipulate other people, confuse other people about the truth of who they are, create the illusion, and who really is who they say they are. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming? The King of Wands, the Death card, the Knight of Swords, and the reason is because of the Knight of Cups. So, your own more fire energy and worldly nature that was more inspired by the world and other people in your life who were happy when you were in that energy tried to stop you from standing up for yourself and investing in truth and love, because they don't. They wanted you to keep moving forward with them in a more emotionally shallow, superficial relationship, or being defensive, or them being more emotionally shallow, superficial, and defensive, and you continuing to invest in them. And you said, no, I'm inspired to transform my life. I do have hope and faith and belief in love. And if you don't, well, then you can just stay back there and go create your illusion with someone else who doesn't know the truth yet about you. But I saw the truth. I offered you truth and love to work together with me. And that wasn't your truth. And I accept the truth of it. And I got out of my ego about it. You have the free will to live your life whatever way you want. That's not my truth. So I'm going to go invest in my truth. You stand up and go take action to go live life the way you want to go live it. And I'm going to stand up and go take action to invest in my truth in the way I want to live it. And kind of what we're inspired by and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into is different. Your truth is different than my truth. And Pisces in shadow can be that they're more caught up in themselves or the illusion of the world instead of seeing the truth that love is what makes it all worthwhile. Just like you can be at a job and some people are unwilling to get out of that job because of the status or the image, and other people are like, these people aren't going to change. I'm leaving. You know? And when you're ready to leave, some other people are like, oh no, I'm not ready to leave yet. And I'm sure they'll change. It's like, okay, well, you keep doing that and I'm going to go look for a different job. And I think as you move forward, because you've realized that the truth is, I'm going to offer love to it. I'm going to offer love to myself and the situation. To see the truth, not stay in denial of the truth. See where I needed to heal and grow and mature myself. See where they needed to heal and grow and mature themselves. See the truth of people I thought were being bossy or controlling or superficial, shallow, intimidating, controlling, deceptive, are manipulated, controlled, and deceived. And I'm not going to stay in denial of the truth anymore, and I'm going to stand up for my truth. And love is what helps you emotionally, which is the Death Scorpio card, that can help you emotionally detach from those people and move forward to get the justice you deserve. And I think as you move forward in that energy, other people see that you're not repeating some old patterns, you're not being more defensive, you're not being more immature or self-indulgent. You're really putting in the work and effort and inspired to put in work and effort to kind of bring your own dream into reality. And the people who kind of align with that kind of way of thinking are going to move forward with you in that energy. And the people who don't are going to be the people who keep trying to stop you from loving and believing in yourself, because they would like to be someone to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you, but they can only do that if you quit loving and believing in yourself. And it's like, I've already been in relationships with people who align with my more shadowy energy. I'm ready to be in relationships with people who are aligned with my more hopeful, believing energy. What's coming up for some people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming up? Oh, and the King and Queen of Pentacles, I view that as the King of Pentacles, is the only married suit of the deck. Some of you are already in relationships, good jobs, marriages, and this could have just been some outside influences, and people aren't going to be tempted in their more shadowy nature or immature people trying to cause some chaos and upset in their life. But if you're not in one of those situations and you're looking for something new, I think this is saying keep investing your time, energy, and effort into people who are more aligned with your truth and keep moving forward in that way. And I think you will meet other people who are in that same energy. Okay, what's coming up for the more worldly or shadowy? We have the Page of Cups. Why? Because of the Ace of Wands. Well, for one, they could always be surprised when people in their life, whether they're their own children or people they've been in relationships or friendships with, they can always be surprised when other people do have that more hopeful believing spirit and are inspired to love and believe in themselves and become more independent because they don't. They keep repeating this pattern and being inspired more by themselves, the world, their ego, codependent, other people in their life that they're codependent on. And because they keep repeating this pattern, there's probably people in their life that would like to be move forward in friendship and relationship with them. But they keep seeing these people keep repeating this pattern. And so eventually those people in the Page of Cups is like, I wish you peace. You do that, I'm going to move on. Because I keep seeing you keep doing it over and over and over. You know, if you're motivated and inspired to move forward in life and detach from something, you would. Even if, you know, again, some people just like to live more from their mind than their heart, and they don't want to invest more in a deep, meaningful relationship. But they want, it's kind of like wanting to, shadowy fire sign could be, I want to indulge in the relationship. I enjoy that, but in the Scorpio death card, I don't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. It's like the illusion of love. And the high vibe people are like, that's not good enough. If you want to indulge in a relationship and be in a relationship, but you don't really want to invest in letting your more hopeful, believing, authentic nature out to play, and you're going to let your more immature or egoic or self-protective or defensive nature run your life, I'm going to let you do that with someone else. And that's probably what they'll go do. And they could just be kind of emotionally immature people or codependent. Other people work through their codependency. They've grown and matured and are inspired to move forward in life differently. And so, while high vibe people are having this new beginning, they're going to repeat this pattern again with someone else. And if they find someone who is inspired to live their life like they live it, well, that would be a just and fair relationship. If they're both people who kind of like to live more from their mind than their heart, are more think it's just and fair to get in relationship and stay in relationship, more for the status or the ego or the image, because that's the most important thing. You know, do we get along well enough? Yeah. You know, they'd maybe stay in a relationship. Shadowy Scorpio is like, life's about death, sex, and taxes. I don't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship anyway. I'm going to have sex with someone. I'll have sex with this person. And if that person is okay with that, well, then they found the right person to be in a relationship with. And some other people are like, oh my God, I couldn't do that. I had to leave. But to each their own. Everybody has the free will to manifest what they want to manifest in their life. And for some people, it's more about those things. So they'll get in a relationship more for those things. Other people are like, I'm going to go enjoy my life, my job, my career, my friends. If I'm currently in a loving relationship, I'm going to probably stay in it if we're on the same page. Otherwise, I'm assuming that if that's part of my next learning lessons in life, then I'm sure as I move forward, I will meet someone who is someone who would be willing to tell me the truth and is more emotionally mature and balanced within themselves, who's not more about themselves or the ego or the image. You know, we all put in work and effort to have some of those things. It's just not wanting those things to be the driving factor to why you get in it. I want to be in it because we love each other. And some people are like, I invest very little in people authentically anyway. So it really is just more about these things. So they can look the same by worldly standards. You know, you can see all these different people out in the world. It's just that some are more like logical and practical, and that's why they stay in it, or they're just more, different emotional maturity levels in relationships. Um, and other people really have done this inner work within themselves to be more authentic and inspired to be more authentically themselves in from love. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.